You're watching Reality Check. Tonight as we speak, the people of Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Assam and Puducherry have voted. They've chosen their new governments, but the answers are locked up in EVMs till the 2nd of May. And close to a third now of West Bengal has voted, but that's the long marathon. That's going to go on now for 5 more phases. But we're moving crucially into the final stages of this mini general election in the middle of a pandemic year, where perhaps it's time to start unpacking certain threads that have emerged in this campaign and in these elections, which link these vastly different contests taking place from West Bengal on the east to Kerala in the southwest, and unpack what these crucial threads are and what they portend for politics in the coming year or years. And let me get straight into it with Moha Maitra, who's the Lok Sabha MP and leader of the Trinimul Congress. But before I come to you, Moha, let me try to play you a clip of what the Prime Minister said today, because that's one of the trends that we're going to look at, which is the use by the BJP of Hindutva much more aggressively as a politically mobilizing tool to enter uncharted areas like West Bengal and the South in this campaign. And here was the Prime Minister today, essentially once again mocking Mamata Banerjee, saying that Mamata Banerjee recently made an appeal asking all the Muslims to come together and vote for her, not to split the Muslim vote. This, the Prime Minister said, indicates that even the Muslims are deserting Mamata Banerjee.
आपने कहा कि सभी मुसलमान एक हो जाओ, वोट बंटने मत दो। दीदी, आप ये कह रही है, इसका मतलब है कि आपको यकीन हो गया है कि मुस्लिम वोट बैंक की आपकी जो ताकत आप मानती थी, वो मुस्लिम वोट बैंक भी आपके हाथ से निकल गया है।
So, Moha Maitra, let me ask you this, that on one hand, it appears that even the Trinimul has not been able to ignore the BJP's majoritarian political posturing, that you've had Mamata Banerjee having to announce a Gotra publicly, and then on the other hand, now she's getting mocked for making this appeal to Muslims, saying all of you have to come together and vote for me as a bloc.
Vasu, I think what is very dangerous today, even more dangerous than the Prime Minister's venomous invective, is that the media seems to bind to the BJP's narrative, and we as the opposition are always supposed to come back, sort of, attack their narrative and defend ourselves. As in Parliament, where I think the House belongs to the opposition, I think in a majoritarian route such as what the BJP is inflicting on India today, I think it is the bounden duty of the media to not bind to the BJP's narrative and let the opposition come forward with their own narrative. So I think this kind of pantomime that the Prime Minister is engaging in every day, each time he comes to Bengal, I mean, this is the first time I think I've seen a Prime Minister electioneering on a daily basis to unseat a Chief Minister. So I think the jury is out on who exactly is scared of what.
But let me say this though.
Hold
on. No, look, I completely agree that, and by the way, as you know, that on NDTV and particularly on this show, we call out majoritarianism, we call out the bigotry and, the sort of communal campaign of the ruling party all the time. But my question is that whether you oppose it or not, is it in a sense forcing the hand of opposition parties, including of yourself, to try to find a way of not losing the majority vote by, as I said, having, it could be Arvind Kejriwal reciting the Hanuman Chalisa, it could be Mamata Banerjee having to say, listen, my Gotra is XYZ, whatever it was. Is that becoming an unfortunate casualty of this type of politics?
No, I don't think it is. Unfortunately, the kind of mind games that the BJP plays, the BJP is only engaged in mind games. So now, for example, Mamata Banerjee is born into a Hindu Brahmin household. I am born into a Hindu Brahmin household. It's not something I was chosen. It's by birth. It's not something I flaunt on my forehead. It's not something she flaunts on her forehead. But when, for example, if she's speaking and she just says, my Gotra is Mamati Manu, and then in part of the discourse she says, well, actually it's Chandilya, I don't think she's saying it to sort of tell people, oh, by the way, I'm an upstart Hindu. I don't think so at all. But if she doesn't say it, then the BJP is going to say, look, she's actually a Brahmin, she's trying to hide it to appease Muslims. If she says it, they're saying, aha, look, finally you've bitten the dust, finally you've had to come and proclaim your good.
Right.
So, you know, it's sort of heads I win, tails you lose, whichever way the BJP plays it their way. And I don't think the Hindu majority in Bengal or in any other state for that matter, a part of it might buy into the divisive invective of the BJP. But I do think that as far as Bengal is concerned, 80% are still in villages and rural Bengal.
Yeah.
And for them, the survival is very much roti, kapda or makan. It is development. And I think that's what this election is going to be on.
But what do you make of also the fact that the BJP is making much of, you know, what they call Trinimul thuggery, which they say continues to bedevil this election? You know, there's been video that's emerged, which you must have seen, of EVMs being found in a Trinimul candidate's house. Now, when an EVM was found in the car of a leader of the BJP in Assam, everyone made a big deal about it, rightly so. But then you've had this as well in West Bengal.
Well, then they've made a big deal of this as well, and rightly so. If the Election Commission instead has been charged, the EVMs are in charge of the office of the Election Commission. Now, if you had told me that the Trinamul leader had gone and jumped into where the EVMs were stored and gone and stolen it and put it in his own house, I would have said, yes, that's a very serious offense. In this case, it seems like the presiding officers or the polling personnel who come under the superintendence of the Election Commission had willingly gone with these EVMs and put them somewhere that they were not supposed to do. I mean, that is the narrative that even the Election Commission is putting out. So I think that is something that the Election Commission is supposed to do. Even in the case of the Assam case, it was not that the BJP guy stopped the car and said, hey, listen, put it into my car. It is that the election personnel. So I think this is something that the Election Commission, instead of focusing on what it should do to run a free and fair election, has been so busy in buying into the narrative of the BJP, you know, transferring officials seems to be their main task, instead of actually ensuring the security of the polling process. Right. And these kind of lacunae come up in Assam, come up here. It's not so much BJP or TMC. It is the election personnel which are to be blamed.
The other strand which I'm trying to find the focus on the strands which are tying these elections together. The other strand, other than the one of Hindutva being used as a tool by the BJP, is of how this is being countered by parties like yourself here and by the DMK in Tamil Nadu, for instance, by playing a kind of sub-regional or sub-nationalist card, that the BJP is a party of outsiders and that they are in a way diluting vernacular cultures either in West Bengal or Tamil Nadu. Is that, Mahua Moitra, sufficient to take on the BJP? Because at the end of the day, it is a national party. So is it really correct to position it as outsiders when they come and campaign in any election?
Please understand, Vasu, our election is being run on two main flanks. The first is the work that we've done for the past 10 years. And the second is what we're going to do for the next 5 years. Those are our two main flanks. In addition to that, when we have now, the BJP is positioning itself as you must understand, their narrative is we are winning Bengal. We have already won Bengal. We are winning with 200 seats. This is what is being thrown every single day. You have leaders of the BJP who come in, who don't understand, who don't speak the language, which is fine. Not everyone has to speak every language. But they are trying to position themselves as more Hindu than the Hindus, as more loyal than the Queen, and as more Bengali than the Bengalis. And that is something that we have a problem with. Devi Gowda stood on the ramparts of the Red Fort and gave a speech in English, written in whatever speech, and that was fine. He was the Prime Minister of the country. We have no problem. But when you have a Prime Minister who's coming here, mocking the language, saying, you know, we need asshole parivartan and we need whatever, pode chap, then I don't think that goes down very well with the Bengali population. I think there is something left West alone, and I think this is something the Prime Minister is unfortunately making a fool of himself. It's not something that we are doing.
You think his Bengali, you think his election time Bengali is not up to scratch? I mean, it's election time.
It's not up to scratch, and I understand, and it's election
time.
And it's fun and games for everyone, and we're all having a good laugh about it. That's okay. But even jokes aside, I do think that this trying to position themselves as more Bengali than the Bengali, more Hindu than the Hindu, is backfiring on them, because Bengal, you must understand, is Chaitanya Dev's bhumi. Okay. So I don't think we need to be taught Bengal culture or Hinduism. That's
all right, Mahua Moitra, I'll let you go because you still have a campaign to get into. and other states and leaders in other states don't. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Let me open it up now. We've got Lalita Kumaramangalam of the BJPs with us, Shama Mohammed of the Congress is with us, Dr. Jay Jayavardhan of the ADMK, Manu Sundaram of the DMK. Lalita Kumaramangalam, let me start with you about this, the connecting strands of this election and the idea that the BJP, one of the primary tools that the BJP has been using in these polls is Hindutva, whether it's the Vetrivel Yatra in Tamil Nadu, whether it's Sabarimala in Kerala, and of course very aggressive Hindutva in West Bengal. Does this really,
Vasu,
does this behoove the party to use, essentially religious and sectarian divides in 2021 as a means of expansion?
Can I answer now?
Yes.
Vasu, it amazes me. I have been a part of the BJP for the last 20 years. From the day I joined the BJP, what I was told was that go and work, slog, and you will fit well into the party. This is what I did. In all the 20 years that I've been here, regardless of the 3 years when I was head of the NCW, we worked our backsides off. Sorry to say it so bluntly on national television. But every single leader, every single karyakarta of the BJP knows that we have to work. Now, it's very easy to say that Hindutva or whatever other Hindu nationalism, whatever word you want to use, is what is actually bringing us votes. But the truth is that we have won twice nationally and many other times in many states.
Yes.
Not merely because what you claim is true, but because we have actually provided benefits to the last rung of people.
I'm not saying that there's not a whole lot of other ingredients.
At the booth level.
I'm talking of key elements from your current campaigns. I'm talking of
Vasu,
key aspects of your campaign, of speeches leaders are making.
If you can't, Vasu, whatever may have been the elements of any campaign of any party, if you cannot reach the people at the booth, you will lose an election. Anybody sitting here, from whichever party they may be, will admit that elections are largely won at the booth level, not at making,
but also elections are fought on issues. Hold on. But elections are fought on issues and are fought on issues that you choose to center stage.
Is the benefits that we give to people. Don't forget the amount of work and the amount of benefits that have been given throughout the country, regardless of, wherever you may come from, language,
well, then why bring up Vetrivel Yatra? Why bring up Sabarimala? Why bring up Jai Sri Ram? Why talk of anti-love jihad laws?
I'm not from Kerala. I'm not anti-love jihad. There's also been talked about in Kerala by even Christian priests. So let me answer one by one. If you'll give me the time, I'll answer it one by one.
Well,
Murugan is one of the most important deities in Tamil Nadu. He's not that popular perhaps in other parts of the country, I'm not too sure. But in Tamil Nadu, Murugan, which is, he is considered one of the most important deities of our culture. So if a political party chooses to take, and the veil is what he carries,
Yes.
So if a political party chooses to say that we would like to do a particular yatra in the name of a god,
why?
What is wrong with it? Nobody is preventing others.
Why should political parties be taking out religious yatras?
Why not?
Because we're a secular country. There's a wall between politics
country, Vasu,
and
where we have
and
reservations
government
for every other so-called minority, especially the Muslims, without having no constitution. In India, the constitution itself.
Is there any political national party which is taking out religious yatras? Can you name one national party which has taken out a religious yatra? Has the Congress taken out religious yatras?
Many have. And let me tell you,
give me an example.
That religion is in India one of the most important parts of any individual's life.
Okay,
whatever
I need to move on.
They may belong to.
I have to resist the
urge.
So,
if you don't want to accept that, that's your decision.
Okay, Manu Sundaram, is this, again, the question I asked Moa, you may say you oppose all of this Hindu business, Hindu polarization by the BJP, but is the DMK also, like all opposition parties, somewhat pushed on the defensive on this? Your manifesto talked of grants to temples and to pilgrimage, subscriptions and all of that. In Kerala, we saw Pinarayi Vijayan saying that, Lord Sabarimala, the Lord Ayyappa is with us. He's not against us.
Well, our manifesto talks about much more, Srinivasan. You'll remember that one of the key elements is the universal basic income that we've proposed for, which we will give to every women head of the family. And I really like much of the conversation. I was hoping much of the conversation in the last 45 days of campaign would be around that. But as you pointed out, as many people have pointed out, BJP has veered always back to this Hindu, non-Hindu, Hindu, anti-Hindu narrative, which is quite old and, to be quite frank, quite futile. No BJP leader who came campaigning spoke about development. No BJP leader told voters what they have done in the last 7 years sitting in the central government and what ADMK has done in the last 5 years here. And, the fact remains that nobody knows who the BJP took out of Vel Yatra. Let's for 1 minute assume that they had some justification for doing so. But who did they take the Yatra out against? Because the government here is the AIADMK, which is their own ally, and the government in the center is the BJP government. So it fails logic, it fails reasoning. But nevertheless,
yes.
They've woven a campaign around slander and innuendos. And I think, the words of the BJP Kerala president, Mr. Surendran, I think resonate quite well. He said in Kerala, one of the reasons the BJP doesn't have much success is because of the high literacy rate. And, I'm not saying that, that's the only reason, but it's also because they've not structured and campaign narrative around socio-economic indicators, around development. We propose the universal basic income because we feel that's the best economic intervention in a post-pandemic economy. We've proposed job schemes, we've proposed industrial development, so on and so forth. So, BJP is still back to their old games, Hindu, non-Hindu. I don't think people of Tamil Nadu have much time or energy for that.
Well, Tamil Nadu may or may not accept it, but it certainly seems to have got traction in West Bengal. But Shama Mohammad, the other strand perhaps linking this election is the Congress again emerging as the weak link? Because in Assam, it looks unlikely, if the opinion polls are to believe, that you're toppling the BJP. In Kerala, you might actually not get the back and forth another term as should happen. Puducherry, you might be losing. DMK alliance is perhaps the only saving grace for you.
Vasu, in Assam, last time we did not have the alliance with AIDUF. This time we have it. And last time the votes were split because of that. And this time we had, and you will see that we will win. In Kerala, let me tell you, we are going to be winning for sure. We had 78%. Last time it was 76% voting. This time it was 78%. And one of the most important things which Mr. Pinarayi Vijayan has learned from Mr. Modi is that say that we are winning. So when you must have visited Kerala, you would have heard a word called Tudar Bharanam, means we are repeating our government again. This is a psychological thing because there are lots of people who are, yes, CPM voters, hardcore. There are hardcore Congress voters. But there are those who sit on the middle and say, what do we do? Let's see. Okay, we don't want to have a hung assembly. We will give it to the one who's going to win. So that is why. But when you look at it right now, after Rahulji's visit and the PSC exam scam which has come out, the deep sea fishing issue which has come out, all of them has added to the problems. The Adani issue which has come out about power.
But your own leadership, the leadership in Kerala, again, faction-ridden, no clear leader projected.
No, listen, we have no leadership issues. We will decide who will be the chief minister. We have very good leaders in our party. And let's not forget that in Nemon, the only seat which the Bharatiya Janata Party has, we put our sitting member of parliament from Vadagara, one of our tallest leaders, Mr. Muralidharan, so that they don't get any seat this time. We are very clear about BJP. They are not going to win anywhere this time. And let me be very clear, because of all these issues, and also what most important is, when does a government come back? When there has been development and when there has been policies. Development is only kit, because the development what they have done is the Gale pipeline and bypass road, which is our projects, which they did not allow when we were in government. They protested.
This is Kerala's though.
They don't want development for the people of
but I mean
Kerala.
overall,
they want development only when they are in power. And
let me move on. Okay, fair enough. Let me move on because Dr. Jayavardhan is also with us. Dr. Jayavardhan, now, as the polls have now closed, so there's, nothing you can now say, you can speak freely. It's unlikely now to make any difference to the outcome. Now, in hindsight, would you say that the idea of aligning with the BJP, given the kind of politics it brings, and because of this perception that particularly in Tamil Nadu, there's a negative association with it, because of this phenomenon that I spoke of, a certain sub-regional sentiment or whatever you call it, that was a mistake. The ADMK, do you regret that? Or are you happy you went with the alliance?
Good evening, everyone. This election is fought on the basis of who has given development for the people of Tamil Nadu. Now, if you have to say our alliance with BJP, our ideology is very different from that of BJP. We are not on the same path with respect to ideology. We have a separate path. So this is never an alliance with regards to ideology. This is an alliance based on what is good for the development of the entire Tamil Nadu. We are in an alliance with the central government to make sure that infrastructure is fulfilled here, development is fulfilled here.
Okay,
we
that's
have
quite
brought
candid of
medical
you.
colleges into the state.
That's quite a candid admission. You're saying there's nothing to do with ideology. It's strictly almost like a kind of negotiating instrument, that because they're in part of the center and you can get your job done at the center. But is there a
Yes,
my question is there a negative, so the upside is that you get this, what the BJP calls double engine ki sarkar. Is the downside that you get the backlash of the association with the BJP in Tamil Nadu? That there's a certain negative sentiment.
The people of Tamil Nadu are very well aware. If they go to vote, they think about who is going to be the CM of Tamil Nadu. So it is based upon that thought that they go to polling station, whether they want Edapadi Palaniswamy or they want MK Stalin.
But
whether they want a good government or whether they want a bad government.
But
by
what
MK.
Stalin and the DMK says is that
actually,
if you vote for even EPS, it's actually going to be proxy BJP government. It's puppet controlled by Delhi.
See, we never lose out on our ideology. We protect the interest of our minorities. We protect the interest, the rights of each and every citizen, each and every person in Tamil Nadu.
Okay.
So look on the contrast. The Congress and the DMK during their regime, I can give you several examples that the interest and the right of the people of Tamil Nadu were just given off by the DMK, which was ruling in 2006 to 2011. That is why the people gave a befitting reply. That is why the people have sidelined the DMK for the
Manu
past 10
Sundaram,
years.
quickly respond to that. That have you made too much of this
Vasu,
BJP?
can I also come in, please?
That of course. I'll come to you later. Yes, that you made too much of this ADMK as a front of the BJP, Manu Sundaram.
No, I think I'll develop on your point and answer to Dr. Jayavardhan as well. You know, that point on subnationalism. See, subnationalism means many things, but for Tamils, it also means multiculturalism, multilinguistic equality, and most importantly, federalism. And I think what we've seen in the last 4 to 5 years, especially, has been a complete assault. I mean, the center has trampled upon state rights, and I can name a number of instances. The NEET exam, Article 370, what's happened to that? As well as the farm laws. These are all, quite, open infringement of state rights. So therefore, I don't understand what my friend says, how he's protected state rights. And I do thank him also for agreeing that it's an alliance of convenience, just because they are in power. So if BJP wasn't in power, they wouldn't be in this alliance. But nevertheless, I think the point is made that BJP has further sunk the ADMK ship in this elections. And I think that
I must let Lalita Kumaramangalam quickly respond before time runs out. Very, very quickly. Lalita ji, I'm told we have
the DMK. I'll finish very fast. I'll just make quick points. I find the DMK's angst quite funny, given the fact that when we were in power and center, when Atalji was there, they were in partnership with us. Are they trying to say that then they were just merely puppets for the BJP government in Tamil Nadu when they ruled TN then? 1. 2, we will know what people have voted for in Tamil Nadu on the 6th of May. And let me tell you that the BJP has made quite a few inroads in Tamil Nadu aside from ADMK, DMK. Let's not forget both Kalagner and Jaya are not there, and that place is ripe for takeover. Which is why Kamala Hassan threw his O's in, etc., etc. So I think the old calculations have not worked this time. Let's hope for the best, and we'll see what happens. On the 6th of May.
We will. All right, we're completely out of time. Thank you all so much for joining me. You've been a great panel. Thanks so much for watching. Good night.